Broadcasting from 87-degree, very humid downtown Cleveland. It's station WDWL TV, home of not one but two stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and Oscar. And as we know, if things are flashing, it stands for your host, me, Grumpy, and we're brought to you by Grumpy Vulture Productions. Oh, goddamn humidity today is enough to kill you. Jesus Christ. I'll tell you what. It's been... I know it wasn't like this last year. I have never seen so many high humid days in this city in quite a while. I mean, this is my third shirt today. And, I mean, the ceiling fan's blowing on high. Wind is open. I'm just sweating my ass off. Matter of fact, I went out early this morning, and I haven't been out since. Goddamn weather is just absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, triple digits out there. What kind of cooking weather you got in your end of town, Kathy? You know, it's not so much the temperature, it's the goddamn humidity. I mean, it's ridiculous. Well, now we're getting a little summer rain shower. A trickle. That's all. As a matter of fact, I think it's over with. Which means now the humidity will go up even more. I'm running out of t-shirts. Jesus Christ. At this rate, I'll be doing goddamn towels before the end of the week. Jesus. And it doesn't, according to the weather forecast, it don't look like there's any end in sight here. Let me see if I can bring it up. No, I can't bring it up. And I took the weather app off my phone, so I really don't know. I really don't want to know what the weather's like. As a matter of fact, when I came back from the store, Rob asked me how I like the heat. I told him I'm sweating my ass off. Now, he's got that big fucking swimming pool in his backyard. It's like, I think it's 5 foot deep and I think it's 24 foot in diameter. You think he would say, you want to come over and take a dip in the pool? No. Stands out there today going, oh my God, I got to keep cleaning the pool and adjusting the chemicals. And Think he'd say, "You want to take a dip in the pool?" Although him and his girlfriend were in the pool about an hour ago. He must have been splashing her with water or something. And she was like, "Don't, please, don't do that. Don't do that." I could hear her. I think the only reason she comes over is to use the fucking pool, to be honest with you. Finally. Well, it's about goddamn time. Yeah, the only problem, and I would never begrudge a female getting a protective order. The only problem with a protective order is it's a piece of paper. That's all it is. It's a piece of paper. How many females have been beaten or worse that had a protective order? All it is a piece of paper. If the other party doesn't want to obey it, yeah, they could get their ass arrested, but the American legal system needs to come up with something better. It needs to come up with something better. Because too many guys just ignore the shit out of them things. How many interrogation videos, have we watched over the years where, there was a protective order in place and the poor, wife, girlfriend is now taking a dirt nap? I think with every protective order, the judge should hand the female a gun and say, if he comes over and fucks with you, you have my permission to take the law into your own hands. That will eliminate a lot of guys going up against a protective order if they knew they'd get a bullet between the eyes if they even looked towards the house or apartment building the person was living at. I really do. I think every protective order should come with a gun, a couple hundred rounds of ammunition, and a free gun course. And basically, the husband, boyfriend should get warned, if you even drive by, she has my permission to put a couple of bullets in your car. Then protective orders would get honored. And basically, if the the boyfriend showed up at the house and she fired a couple of shots at him, the next time she should be issued an AK-47. And the gun should keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger until the guy gets the point. Well, if he bought her, that's a gift. How can you steal a gift? If he went out and went, here, look what I bought for you. Can't steal a gift. But I really think that a protective order should immediately have a gun issued, and that way the judge right there in court says, if you even look in her direction, she has my permission to empty the clip in your ass. Just saying. Grumpy's way of solving a protective order. I think any female that suffers any sort of physical or mental abuse, the judge should just immediately issue a gun permit, give her a gun course to learn how to fire it, and issue the warning that if you're driving by and you even look out of your peripheral vision in her direction, she has the permission to empty the clip in your car. That would eliminate a lot of the bullshit. But I'm glad she got her order, and it sounds like the judge chewed his ass out. It sounds like it went all her way. I bought her a weapon, Your Honor, and she stole it. What? You bought her and you gifted it to her? Yeah. How do you steal a gift? Sit down. Don't say anything else. You're pissing me off. What a stupid. Evidently, he came to court with his two brain cells, and neither one of them were speaking to each other. I really think if females were issued guns and given a gun course, a lot of this shit would stop. Gee, 8 fucking kids? Holy shit. I wouldn't marry one with 1, let alone 8. Jesus. Talk about somebody got their head up their ass. Holy shit. I hope all 8 want to go to college. That'll fix his ass. He'll be paying college loans from the grave. I hope all 8 kids want to get into baseball, football, soccer, band camp. 8 kids. Jesus. Boy, has he got his head up his ass. Oh, that's scary. That's scary. Gee, how many children do you have? 8? And I proposed? Where were all these kids? You had them well hidden. 8? God damn. That's plain stupid. I mean, I could see giving kids a father image. 8 is pushing it. 8 is pushing it. She must be getting a bundle in child support. God damn. That's scary. Especially at the prices of shit today. Well, that's good. He got outed in public. How wonderful. Everybody knows who the asshole is now. Wonderful. Well, that's usually the way it is. That's usually the way it is. You know, those kids will get all of his attention and his own kids get nothing. Yeah, that's usually the way it ends up. Sadly enough. Then later on, he'll wonder why his kids are so bitter and why, you know, they don't talk to him. Perfect example right there. And I hope his kids don't ever talk to him. Teach him a lesson. It sounds like they're better off, though. They'll grow up to be very strong, independent, probably successful kids. And the 8 that he's fathering now will all be bums. He's not regretting it now. But down the line, he'll regret abandoning his own kids. Especially, you know, they all become successful. Talk about asshole with a capital A. Jesus. I think I'm going to have to take this chair apart For some reason, the base seems to be loose. I might have to take the base off the other chair and put it on this one because they're made by the same company. I have the sneaking hunch that the same shitty weld that broke on the other chair is going to break on this one. And since they sent me a way better platform for the green chair, I think I'm going to put that platform underneath this one. I kind of enjoyed when they went down the list of restaurants that she'd been thrown out of and trespassed from. She pulled that shit at every goddamn restaurant in that town. I got a kick out of that. Plus, she's still on probation until November of this year. You know, it's pretty sad when you get trespassed from Cracker Barrel. Let alone, Olive Garden. Let's see, it was Cracker Barrel, Olive Garden, Texas Roadhouse. There were 4 of them, weren't there? She ate the whole appetizer basket. It sounded like she licked the bowl when she finished the salad. She killed the baked potato and ate 3/4 of the steak and then said, "Oh, the steak was bad." I thought you'd love that. Especially considering, she don't live that far from you. Oh, I got a return email from the chief. Now, she said she can't help me out with the speed tables because that's a different department, but she made sure to forward my email to the city department that handles the speed tables, to my councilman, and to the district commander requesting that as soon as possible he places a vehicle to monitor them stop signs. Answered by her personally. I wrote her back and thanked her. I said it's a breath of fresh air having a chief that not only looks out for the citizens, but also responds to their emails. Matter of fact, I said, you're the only one. So, probably Monday, there will be a car sitting up the street. And the first time he gives a warning, I'm going to walk up to the car and say, "Hey, you're not here for warnings. You're here for tickets. And you're not here for 2. If you're here for your whole shift, I want to hear a lot of whoop, 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 whoop." Although, see, he'll sit there Monday, and then the word will go out. And then Tuesday, everyone will be good citizens stopping at the stop sign. I will have words with him. I will have words with him. Because I'm going to tell him, you don't want me calling Commander Wood on you. No warnings. Write tickets. No warnings. I don't care how many police, FOP, Ohio Police Benevolent Association courtesy cards people pull out of their wallet. No warnings. Tickets. Stop sign ticket is $85 plus course cost. Puts it over $100. I want to see a lot of $100 tickets written. Because I'll get my lawn chair and sit underneath Mary Ann's tree and watch. Yeah, I opened my email this morning and whoa, look at that. The chief got back to me in a day. See, you had the Fraternal Order of Police Associates, FOPA. Then you had the Ohio Police Benevolent Association. And there's one more. I can't remember. CPPA, Cleveland Police Patrolmen's Association. All three of these issue courtesy cards. And technically, if you get stopped and you present this courtesy card, you're given the courtesy of a warning. Well, no. If you ran that stop sign, I don't care if you have all three courtesy cards in your wallet. Put them back. Put them back. Oh, I got my wallet. I got to show you something. I think I've showed this before, but Christ, good thing I don't have to pull it out at a traffic stop. I can't even get it out of the fucking wallet. There we go. I was issued now this is a sheriff's gold card. It's not plastic. It's not paper. It's metal with my name engraved in it. A sheriff's gold card. One of only 500 issued. And they're good for life. One of only 500 issued, and they're good for life. Impressive, right? It's like pulling out a gold American Distress card. Several years ago, I'm coming back from Columbus, and I get stopped by a state trooper. So as I gave him my license, registration, and proof of insurance, I gave him my gold card. At which point he said, "Will you please step back to my patrol unit?" So I get in on the passenger side, and he's running my driver's license, checking my registration, looks at my insurance, and then he proceeds to stare at my gold card. And he's sitting there, and he said, "This is impressive. I've heard of these. One of 500, right?" He said, "This is really impressive." I'm thinking, I beat this speeding ticket. To which he handed it back to me and said, "Too bad you're not in Cuyahoga County." At which point I knew I was getting the fucking ticket. Now, technically, it's supposed to be honored statewide. But there is a little catch. They don't have to honor it if you're not getting the ticket in the county in which he stopped you. So he handed me back my gold card and commenced to write the speeding ticket. The only time I got stopped, well, I'll take that back. I got stopped again. I didn't bother pulling the gold card the second time. And the second time was really embarrassing. And I've told this story. I was working for a food broker, and we did a night set. Instead of going in at 8 in the morning, we started at 8 o'clock at night. And we finished like around 2 a.m. And we were south of Akron. I can't remember where. So I come up 77 to 18, and I'm going to cut across 18 to 71. Now, mind you, it's 2:30 in the morning. I'm cruising along down 18 at 50 miles an hour, not paying attention to the speed sign that reduced to 40. And I blew past a trooper. On come the blue lights. Now, I had my buddy with me. We were working together. And he was a real mouthy asshole. And I looked over at him and I said, Lou, don't say a fucking word. I just don't even move. I'm looking in the side view mirror. And of course, you know, when the trooper gets out of the car, they put on the sombrero. And I'm looking straight ahead. I had the window down. And I hear this female voice. And I looked over, and it's a little pixie of a state trooper. She just, I don't know what the height requirement, but she probably just barely made the height requirement. And she says, can I have your license, registration, proof of insurance? It says, I'm reaching for my wallet. I pull out my wallet. I give her all 3 pieces. She looks at my license. She goes, neither one of you gentlemen would be wanted felons, would you? Hell no! She says, sit tight. I ain't going nowhere. Car's in park. 4-way flashers are going. She goes back. She runs my license, all my info. She comes back and she says, first of all, you can turn that radar detector off because it didn't warn you. Because the radar detector's going, yellow light flashing. I reach up and I shut the fucking radar detector off. Takes her flashlight, she looks in the car and she goes, my. Neither one of you gentlemen are wearing your seatbelts. I'm thinking, oh fuck, I'm getting a speeding ticket and a fucking seatbelt ticket. An asshole next to me is going to get a seatbelt ticket, and we ain't never going to hear the end of it because he's going to open his mouth. She hands the paperwork back into the car and she says, I'll make you gentlemen a deal. If you put your seatbelts on, I'll let you go. I'll tell you what, that's the fastest you ever saw a seatbelt click in my life. Snap! She hands me everything back. Drive safe, and don't turn the radar detector on. You were ignoring it anyway. That was in 2000. In 26 years, I do not put my car in gear without my seatbelt fastened. You talk about a lesson learned. I'll tell you what, if I forget, which is rare, I feel undressed, like I went out without my pants. I'm like, holy shit. I get in the car. I immediately click the belt. Then I put the key in the ignition. And it's been like that since that day in 2000. But I'll tell you what, talk about fucking embarrassed. goddamn radar detector is screaming. I mean, I had it at full blast. I know she had her radar on because the radar detector was screaming. Might as well shut that off. You're ignoring it anyway. But when she poked the flashlight in the car and went, "Neither of you gentlemen would be wanted felons, would you?" Where'd that come from? And I'm waiting for Lou to open his mouth because I'd have grabbed her flashlight and hit him across the face and handed it back to her. But when she poked that flashlight in the second time and went, "Oh, neither one of you gentlemen are wearing your seatbelts." I was like, "Oh, fuck, here we go. I'm going to get 2 tickets. Lou's going to get a ticket. He's going to run his mouth, and we're both going to get arrested." But I'll tell you what. I don't know what the minimum height is for Ohio State Patrol. She barely made it. She had to have padding in the bottom of her socks because she was a little pixie of a thing. Although she looked good with her sombrero on. That's one thing every trooper will do. If you ever, no matter what state, when they step out of the car, the first thing they do is put on the hat and make sure it's nice and straight. And then they walk up to your vehicle. And I'll tell you what, I don't care what state, the crease in a state trooper's slacks is so sharp, you could slice bread with it. I'll tell you what, any trooper I have ever seen, they are spit and polish, man. Their emblems on their collars are glowing. Their badges are glowing. Their shoes, you could shave in their shoes. They're so shiny. And the crease in their slacks, not to mention the crease in the shirts. When that little pixie walked up to the door, I was like, "Are you tall enough to be on the force?" I didn't say that to her. That was sometime next month. It'll be 26 years. Because it was August of 2000. I remember that day. I've been stopped 3 times. I take that back. I got stopped. How long has the RAV4 been broke down now? 2 years? Yeah, 2 years. So it would have been maybe 2.5 years ago. On the roof of the RAV4, I had a big federal Vista police light bar. Every one of my vehicles has got a light bar. Well, there'll be one on the Passat when I legally own it. because I want to put my Vector on. I'm driving down, I'm coming back on 71. I got on an 82, and I'm coming home, and I heard a banging noise on the roof, and then it went away. I didn't pay no attention to it. I'm cruising along, and in the distance, I see blue flashing lights. Okay, I'm not speeding. As the blue flashing lights were getting closer, he changed lanes. And then he changed lanes again. And I'm looking in the mirror, and he's getting closer and closer and closer. And next thing you know, he's right behind me. And I'm thinking, what the hell did I do? I wasn't speeding. So I pull over, flashers on. He comes up to the window, and he says, "Are you missing something?" Not that I know of. He said, "You want to step out?" I'm thinking, not really. I step out of the car, and he goes, "Are you missing something?" And I noticed my roof bar is no longer on the roof. I was like, holy shit. Yeah. He said it's hanging off the back end of your car. Really? I walk around the back end, and fucking roof bar is hanging by the power cable off the back end of the RAV4. I was like, I heard a bang on the roof. I had no idea what it was. What had happened was, when I installed that roof bar, evidently, when I put the self-tapping screws in, I must have stripped all 4 of them out. And they slowly backed out. And then the roof bar just slid. And luckily, the cable wasn't that much longer, or it would have been dragging in the pavement. So I says to the trooper, I said, "Can you give me a hand kind of picking this up so I can open the tailgate and throw it in the back of the car?" We pick it up, open the tailgate, we put it in the back of the car. I said, I heard a bang up on the roof. I looked in the mirror, thinking that maybe somebody threw a rock or something, not realizing that, and I'll tell you what, that roof bar is huge. I don't know how I didn't see it go off the back end of the car. But luckily, the power cable, which is about 3/4 of an inch around because it's got about 27 wires inside of it, wasn't that much longer. Or I'd have destroyed it. It would have been dragging in the pavement. When he said, "Are you missing something?" Not to my knowledge. You want to step out of the car? Not really. But if you insist. And I got out of the car, and it still didn't dawn on me. It didn't register. And he goes, "Are you sure you're not missing something?" And at that point, I looked and I went, "Holy shit, my light bar." He says it's hanging off the back of the car. I'm like, whew. I will never use self-tapping screws again. I will use regular sheet metal screws, and I will drill a little pilot hole and crank them suckers in, because these were the type where it had like a drill bit on the front. So you just went, brrr. Well, what happened was I must have rounded all the holes out, and they vibrated loose. And the interesting thing was, when I came home, Mary Ann noticed right away. "When did you take the roof light off the top of the RAV4?" I said, "I didn't take it off, it fell off." And a kindly state trooper stopped me to let me know that it was hanging off the back end of the car. And see, the reason I didn't notice it is the RAV4, the spare tire mounts on the tailgate. Well, it had fallen behind the spare tire. Had it fallen to the side, I would have seen, but the spare tire hit it. But yeah, I'm driving along. I see them blue flashing lights. I moved over a lane. And I see the blue flashing lights still coming, so I moved over one more lane. And then I see the blue flashing lights come into the center lane, and then come into the right lane, and come up right behind me. I've only been stopped 3 times in my life. And all 3 times, state troopers. Never been stopped by a city cop. Well, I take that back. I got stopped by an asshole in Lakewood, but young rookie giving me a hard time. Claimed I didn't make a complete stop at a stop sign. I said, "Why wouldn't I make a complete stop at a stop sign when I saw you parked across the street? Do I look that stupid?" Not to mention, I'm driving a manual, and I always come to a complete stop because sometimes, even though I have a fully synchronized transmission, it's a little tough to get in first gear. So I said, "No, I didn't roll through the stop sign." And he says to me, "Gee, you seem to have an attitude." I said, "Well, you're giving me attitude, I'm giving you attitude back. Now, either write the fucking ticket or let me go. Make up your mind." And I don't think he expected to hear that from me, because the next thing you know, he said, "Drive safe." And as I pulled away from him, I said, asshole, but not loud enough for him to hear it. One reason I hate driving in Lakewood. Because they're all assholes. It's like Lakewood is the training ground for a police officer. You start in Lakewood and then you go somewhere else. Because they're all assholes. And the assistant chief is a real asshole. Perfect example. I was fixing my car, and all of a sudden, I hear water. And as I looked out from underneath the car, the water was coming from a drunk who was urinating on my front tire. So I called the non-emergency number and I said, I was just about pissed on by a drunk and he's sitting next to the bar, leaned up against the building. To which the dispatcher says, did you have to use that language? I said, you would have heard a little different language if he would have pissed on me. She says, well, since you weren't urinated on, we'll send a car when we get one free. Well, car never did show up. And the drunk left. So I called the community relations department and voiced my displeasure with the dispatcher. I was told the complaint would be looked into. Okay. Well, about a month later, Lakewood puts out a drive for auxiliary police officers, citizen, traffic directors. So I go down to the police station and I fill out an application. About 3-4 days later, I get a call to come in for an interview. So I go in for the interview, and I get asked all these stupid-ass questions. And then the interviewer, who was a sergeant, said, "Oh, by the way, I'm in charge of the call center." Good for you. You made a complaint against one of my dispatchers. To which point I thought, I ain't going to get on the auxiliary police force. And I stood up and he said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I know where this interview is going. You're not going to sit here and chastise me. I'm not getting on the auxiliary police force. I am ending my interview because I don't want to take up any more of your valuable time because maybe one of your dispatchers needs to speak to you. And I started out the office, and he's like, come back here. I said, I'm John Q. Citizen. We're done talking. I don't have to come back here. All you're going to do is bitch me out. I haven't got time for it. See ya. I don't think he expected to hear that. Especially when he said, get back here. And I said, ain't happening, pal. Because, see, he wanted to chew my ass out. I already knew at that point in time I could have washed his car, cut his lawn, and cooked him dinner for a month. I wasn't getting on the auxiliary police force. Conversation over. I didn't give him what he wanted because he wanted to chew me out because I made a complaint against one of his poor dispatchers. Well, she could have been a little more polite. And I called the non-emergency number because it wasn't an emergency. So he couldn't bitch me out about that either. The whole police force are assholes. The whole. Although what he should have done was hired me for the police auxiliary and then given me every dirty, rotten job that they had. Oh, you're going to be directing traffic at the foot of a bridge at 2 in the morning. Okay. Give me my flashlight. If he really wanted to get back at me, that's the way he could have done it. Give me every shitty job that they needed an auxiliary traffic director to do. Like, we're having 4 foot of snow. You're going to stand in the snow and direct traffic for 7 hours. You know, that would have been the way to do it. But as soon as I realized the interview was going nowhere, I left and pissed him off. Come back here. Interview's over. I don't have to come back here. I thought for sure there'd be a fleet of police cars following me home. But as soon as he said, oh, one of my responsibilities is the police call center, the red flag waved. Uh-oh, here we come. Although he did his research, it was amazing how he cross-checked my application with a complaint against one of his dispatchers. Because the complaint didn't go directly to him. It went to the Community Relations Department, which got forwarded to him. But yeah, as soon as he said, one of my responsibilities is the call center, immediately the bells went off. Here it comes. I really wanted to tell him, if your call takers are that thin-skinned, they need another job. They really do. If they're that thin-skinned, they're in the wrong line of work. Because it's obvious they can't handle emergencies. But if he wanted to get back at me, he missed his chance. Because he could have really got back at me. But see, you don't scare me. And you're not going to sit and chastise me. Okay, I could have used different terminology. I was ticked off. Because I'm laying underneath my car and here's a drunk taking a piss on my front tire. In broad daylight. He could have gone behind the garage. No. He walks up to the side of my car and decides to wash my white wall. And as soon as she said, I'll send a car when one's available, I knew she wasn't going to send no car. I knew it. And one never did show up. No, I take that back. I was stopped twice by Cleveland in the Passat. And they had every right to stop me. Luckily, the 2 times I was stopped, they were both older officers. They listened to my explanation, and they basically said, take it home and park it. And luckily it was 2 different officers, because had I gotten stopped the second time by the first one, it had probably been on a hook. But they were both very nice, very understanding. But they did inform me, you're driving on phony license plates, which I knew. But I mean, as far as traffic violations, I've never been stopped anywhere except 3 times by state troopers. Me and them blue flashing lights, man. But as a matter of fact, the other day, I saw the one officer that stopped me. He was going into Subway to get a sandwich. And as soon as he went in Subway, boy, I beat feet him out of Mark's parking lot in a hurry. I'm like, oh, man, I don't want him to stop me again. Although Marianne did text message me today and told me she'd been kind of busy and she'll get to my draft number 3 by the weekend. I was like, oh, okay. Hopefully it don't have a shitload of red ink on it. I can fill out the original paperwork and get it filed. Man, all of a sudden I get a cramp in my thigh. Wow, that hurts. Straighten the leg out. Oh, man, does that hurt. Wow. All of a sudden, like somebody stuck a knife in the underside of my thigh. Mm. That's because I have to watch how I lean in this chair because I don't want that weld to break because it's loose. I should have known better than to buy this chair because it came from the same manufacturer. Although maybe what I will do is rock back and forth, break the weld, and get my warranty replacement. You would think. Now, the base that they sent me for the green chair is completely different. It's like the original base was welded in China and the replacement base was welded in America. Now, I could switch, but I think what I'll do is break this chair and then contact them and go, hey, you sent me another one of them shitty welded goddamn chair bases. Send me a replacement. Thank you. Oop, easy. I haven't tipped the chair over to take a look, but it feels the same way the other one did before it broke. And luckily when it broke, I didn't fall out of the chair. I heard the weld snap. And I very cautiously stood up. And the chair was going, reep wow, reep wow, reep wow. Because I haven't had it that long. It's got a year warranty, so I'll look up on Walmart.com to see when I purchased it. I know it hasn't been a year. It's only been, 3-4 months I've had the flashing chair? But I should have known better. As a matter of fact, when I got it, and I noticed it had that crappy welded base, I should have just returned it. But then I wouldn't have had this fancy flashing chair. But it's amazing the difference in the weld job. You know, this base has got like a spot in each corner. The base on the green one, fully welded, all four sides. I couldn't beat the price. And, you know, the nice thing was when I reported it broken, I didn't have to take like 6,000 pictures. They just said, we'll send you out a new platform, as they called it. We'll send you out a replacement platform. So maybe tomorrow I'll just go on Walmart.com and go, hey, a fucking chair broke. Okay, sir, we'll send you out a replacement platform. I was looking at recliners. I'm really thinking about buying a recliner. Now, I have a bed, but I'll tell you what. I miss my old recliner. I could sleep as peaceful as can be in that recliner. Not saying I don't sleep too well in bed, but I miss that recliner. That big, overstuffed, lazy boy. Because it goes back almost like a bed. I would crank that thing back, and next thing you know, lights out. The only problem is I'd have to rearrange the bedroom. And I really don't feel like doing that right now. Because that's where I would put it so I could watch TV, you know. And there was a commercial for Bob's Furniture. And they're somewhere in this area, Bob's. And they had a whole bunch of recliners on sale. So I went in and I was looking, and I didn't care for what Bob's had. So I looked at Walmart.com and I found a couple that look really comfy. I don't know. I really don't need one. But I miss sleeping in a recliner. I could go out like a light in a recliner. Especially that lazy boy that I had. Oh, man. It was big, overstuffed monstrosity. Part of the reason I didn't bring it with me is it was so goddamn big. I got it from a friend of mine. He didn't like it. He bought it from Lazy Boy. And I mean, this thing was a big, overstuffed monster. He didn't like it. And he had it, I don't know, like 6 months. So he said to me one day, "You want this thing?" I said, "What's wrong with it?" He said, "Nothing. I don't like it." Well, what don't you like about it? Get this. I fall asleep too easy in it. Well, isn't that the reason you buy a recliner? To fall asleep? To be comfy? Yeah, he said, I crank that thing back and I fall asleep. I said, well, don't crank it back. He said, well, a recliner's, you're supposed to recline. I said, Fred, don't recline. Put the feet, put the foot thing up and just sit there. Well, that defeats the recliner. I says, yeah, I'll take it. I'll have a couple of my son's friends come over and pick it up. And I had the thing for a couple of years. And then when I moved down here, I was like, oh, geez, where am I going to put that thing? So I gave it away. Now I wish I wouldn't have given it away. And it was one of the few recliners that came apart. That was another thing I liked about it. Because usually recliners are just one big lump. This thing, you unbolted the back, and then it made the bottom part easier to move. And then you just put the back on it. Man, I could fall. I'll tell you what, it would be like 9 o'clock. I'd crank back. By 9:05, I was out like a light. And I could sleep all night in that thing. It was the most comfortable. But I mean, it was jugundous. It was the big, jugundous, overstuffed. Was it gray? I think it was a dark gray cloth. Oh, I loved that thing. Yeah, because when he told me I could have it, I was like, man, I'm going to have movers come and move this goddamn monster. And he went, oh no, the back comes off. Well, then that made it easier to move in two pieces. And it was the most comfortable thing. I mean, it was big enough for like two people. That's how big, frickin' overstuffed monster. And he paid like $1,200 for that goddamn chair. And he didn't like it. Because when he cranked it back and reclined, he fell asleep. I thought that was the object of a recliner, to fall asleep. He bought, what the hell? It wasn't a Lazy Boy. He bought another one. Oh, it was one of them where you push the button and it raises up, like to dump your ass out of the chair. He had that for a couple of months and he hated that thing. I don't know what his problem was with that one. But you push the button. I always told him, I says, he's lucky it doesn't have a high-speed motor, dump you right out on your face. But it raised up and then it tilted forward to make it easier to get up out of. As a matter of fact, it had a massage feature in it, too. That's what he didn't like. He didn't like the massage. I said, then don't turn it on, you asshole. I mean, you have to know him. I'll tell you what, he could find fault with a free lunch. I don't know how his wife puts up with him. And they've been married like 55 years. He's one of these where the glass is half empty if you say it's half full. You got one of them. That glass you got there is half full. No, it's half empty. Well, same thing. Half full, half empty. Matter of fact, I basically quit stopping to see him. I got tired of arguing with him all the time. And God forbid you would mention politics. Oh, God. I don't know. I'll tell you what, his wife is a saint. I don't know how she has put up with him for all these years. Although maybe when I'm not there, she beats the shit out of him. You know, shut up. Oh, sorry. But he didn't like the Lazy Boy because he fell asleep in it. And he didn't like, I can't remember what brand that lift chair, because he didn't like the massage. Well, don't turn it on. But he would argue, well, it's got a massage feature. Yeah, and? Well, I don't like it. I wanted to go over with a screwdriver and take the switch for the massage out. There. You don't have to worry about the massage. I took the switch out. Then he'd complain, well, don't massage anymore. God bless his wife. Although, like I say, she probably kicks the shit out of him. When he wakes up in the morning, don't say a word. I don't want to hear nothing out of you. Okay, dear. I told you. I don't know. I'm not there 24/7. She has to have something. She probably stands over him with a baseball bat. Maybe I should stop over and look. What are you looking for? Well, I'm looking for the baseball bat your wife uses on you. She probably opened a closet and there's 50 of them. Take your pick. Although they do say opposites attract. It's true in that marriage. She is the sweetest person, outgoing, do anything for you type of woman. And then you got asshole here that don't like his recliner because he falls asleep. I have to wake up and go to bed. Then when I get in bed, I can't sleep. Stay in the chair, you dickhead. Jesus. Yeah. Well, if I wake up and I go into the bedroom, then I can't fall asleep. Well, if you fell asleep in the chair, stay there. Why get up and go to the bedroom if you can't fall asleep? You were sleeping in the chair. I would have loved to rewire that lift chair. Hit the button and it would launch him like a rocket. You know, I really don't understand How people can be that way. Argue at the drop of a hat. And, like, you're never happy with anything. I mean, I could go over there with a six-pack of Heineken and he'd be like, what'd you bring that for? I don't like Heineken. Well, here, I'll put the cap back on it and take it home then. Or else I'd come over and he'd go, you didn't bring no beer? Well, yeah, the last time I brought beer, you didn't like it. You didn't bring no beer? Don't you have beer in your fridge? No. Well, why not? I didn't feel like going and getting any. Well, I didn't feel like bringing any because you bitched the last time I brought beer. You know, like stop and be a nice guy and get a couple of Big Macs. I don't like Big Macs. Well, then here, I'll give it to your wife. She'll eat it. Yeah, he's the same way, Ketty. He's not happy unless he's arguing. And evidently, his wife must keep him in line when nobody's around because I can't see her putting up with that shit for 55 years and not standing over him with a goddamn baseball bat or a gun. Because I even asked her one day, I said, when you guys were dating, was he like this? Yeah. What did you see in him? I can't remember what the hell she said she liked about him. Evidently, she still likes whatever it is to be still with him, but like I say, there might be a baseball bat or a cast iron pan that I'm not seeing in the open somewhere. That's a shame when somebody does that. You know, ruin a kid's birthday party. But some people aren't happy unless they're creating havoc all over the place. You know, I'm going to have to stop over there just to ask her what he was like during family gatherings, birthday parties, 4th of July, shit like that. I'm going to have to pay him a surprise visit. And then hopefully he leaves the room so I can ask his wife a couple of questions. Like, what's your secret for being married this long? Show me the cast iron pan that you hit him over the head with. Show me the baseball bat. Where's the AK-47? Although I should call his son or his daughter and ask them. I'd probably get a better honest answer. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll call one of his kids and say, what was Dad like growing up? What were your birthday parties like? What was it like around Christmas? Then get the honest answer. Because they'll tell me. I don't know how I've been friends with him as long as I have. Maybe because he gave me a free recliner. I don't know. Oh, I still got that cramp in my thigh. Oh, Jesus. Speaking of downtown, is the building still standing? I forgot to check the news this morning. Is the Pfizer building still swaying? Although I'm sure if it would have collapsed, it would have been all over the news. I forgot to check today. Because I know the fire chief said they had to wait till the building stopped moving so they could shore it up. Boy, that's scary. I don't think I would be purchasing no condo in that building. Especially with this shit. And I could guarantee whatever deposits they have for luxury condos, people are probably asking for their money back about now. I'd be afraid to live in that. I don't care how many beams they welded into that building. I would be afraid to live in there. For fear it would be like that, where in Florida was it? Where that goddamn, the middle of that condominium came down. The two ends were standing and the whole center section collapsed. What was that, a year ago, 2 years ago? Down in Florida? Where that whole center section of that condo building came down? I'd be afraid that Pfizer building would be the same way. You couldn't get me to live there. Not after that shit. I don't care if they welded 5,000 new steel beams in that building. I'd never trust it. That's scary. Especially when the fire chief said, well, the building's got to stop moving before we can get in there and shore it up. I was reading about that. Oh, where is it? In Dubai? Was it Dubai? It's the world's tallest building now. I think it's in Dubai. Maybe it's over in UAE, somewhere over there. It's the world's tallest building. And I remember seeing when they opened that building, when they dedicated it, and they said at the top floors of that building sways back and forth up to 6 feet. You couldn't get me in that building, let alone knowing it sways back and forth 6 feet. Now, yeah, the architects engineer that into the structure. They take that in because the higher up you go, the more wind. Can you imagine having a penthouse on the top floor, sitting in your living room, feeling like you're on a ship? I tend to think we'll be seeing a building collapse here. That's not sounding good. But see, the assholes removed too many load-bearing beams to make way for them condos. What kind of a structural engineer do you have on site that says, okay, you can cut out that beam and that one and that one and that one? Load-bearing beams are what they say. Load-bearing. You don't remove a load-bearing beam unless you have a load-bearing beam welded in to take its place. God forbid they have a nasty storm in New York. That building will come down. If they have a nasty windstorm, that building will come down. That's scary. That's real scary. But I guarantee lowest bidder. Lowest bidder. Get what you pay for. I didn't call you. Oh. Well, you're a little late. I know, I know. Those sad eyes. He just sits there and looks. Although today he's pulling that shit again. As soon as I get up, he beats feet, jumps on the bed, and thinks I'm going to come in and give him cat treats. Then he sits there in the bed, meow, meow, meow. Just because I walk past the bedroom don't mean you get treats. Oh, I said the word treats. Boy, the ears perked right up. No, you're going to get dinner, not treats. Boy, as soon as he heard treats, the ears. He's sitting there with the ears up. Treats. No. Oh, I'll feed you, I'll feed you, I'll feed you. Okay, tablet, come on. React. We know where, right here. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Look for an email in the morning, Kathy. I'm going to shoot you an email. It won't be a long one, but I'm going to email you in the morning. And with that, take care. We'll see you tomorrow.